Because I haven't been on placement, I'm going to be analysing a toddler art class that my daughter and I attended at the Footscray Community Arts Centre. So I'll first explain what happened during the art class, which included components of visual arts and performing arts, and then I'll go on to analyse them in relation to the strands. So, at the beginning of the class, we made some fish, which you can see behind me. And after making these fish, which we used various materials to make, we hung them from sticks with string, as though we had caught them on fishing rods. Then the children gathered in the open tableless area of the studio with Mito, who was the teacher. He began to pretend to throw in his fishing reel into the water to catch a fish and reel it in, and encouraged the children to imitate him. He told the children that we were all fishermen and we could pretend to catch our fish. He was very expressive and dramatic in his performance, masquerading that the fish was very heavy, and used his body and facial expressions to express this comically to the children, who were engaged and laughing. He then began to stomp around the room slowly, inviting the children to follow him with their fishes in tow. He held an empty cardboard tube and an extra fishing rod stick and banged the tube to create a percussion for the children to stomp along to. He began singing a repetitive, catchy song about fish, the act of fishing in the Maribyrnong River, and how we must respect and look after our river, and in return, it will give us fish. He encouraged the children to follow him, stomping around the studio, and to repeat the simple song after him. The children were delighted to run after Mito and tried to copy his movements and echo his song. It was interesting to observe how Mito was able to integrate a relevant issue to the local community, our river, wildlife, and environment. The children were taught through a fun and lively activity about the river near our homes, the fish that live in it, and that it is important to look after our river and that our food comes from our environment. So, explore and express. Improvisation was used to create a movement sequence where the children were directed to follow and stomp. Mito's performance explored dramatic action and empathy in an improvised expression. The children used their bodies and voices to make percussion and sound, and improvised materials were used in the creation of a percussion instrument. Through this, the children were able to learn about fish, fishing, and our local river. As for performing arts practices, choreographic devices were used to create an age-appropriate movement sequence. The children and Mito used voice, facial expression, movement, and space to imagine and improvise characters and situations. The children also learnt and chanted a song. Present and perform. Children used simple expressive skills to mirror movement and performed to an audience of their fellow classmates and parents to communicate a narrative. Respond and interpret. The children were asked how they enjoyed their experience, and their feedback was positive. They were encouraged to reflect at home about what they had learnt about where fish come from and about looking after our rivers and our environment.